Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. This is Spiguyver Backpacking. I'm Spiguyver, and tonight we're out here for another stove test series. So tonight the boil test will be with the Trail Design Kojin stove. So this is a nice little puck-like design stove. It's got a screw top lid, and under the lid there's a little plastic rubber gasket, and what that allows you to do is seal it so you can carry this with fuel in there. So right now I already have fueled this up with an ounce of fuel. So I measured out the fuel, and the cool thing, it's spill proof. So this is one of those that you can play around with, fill it up. Now, because of the way that the batting material is in here, you have to pour it in kind of slowly, or I like to use these little squirt tops and spray it on there, and it absorbs it really well. If you're using a measuring cup, you have to pour it on pretty small or pretty slowly, or else it will overflow because it takes time for it to absorb in. But once it's there, it doesn't come out. So this is what we're going to be testing tonight. We're going to do the standard tests. We're going to use the 700, the 550, and the Foster's pot. I'm going to be using a little pot stand here that will keep it about an inch to an inch and a quarter above from the base of the flame to the base of the pot. So that's about the sweet spot, about where you want it. So that's what we're going with on this one. All right, guys, I'm gonna get this thing all set up. We'll come back and we'll get this one going. So let's go. All right, so we've got the stove filled up. We've got the 1 fluid ounce measured out at 0.75 of an ounce weight-wise. We've got the pot stand. We've got a reflector base that we're gonna set this on. We've got the water here, and it is set at 61 degrees. 209 is set. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna light this, place this on top, place the pot on, hit start, and see what we get. So why don't we get this thing started? Real easy to light. Set that on. Pot is on. Hit start. We'll see what this one does. Here is the flame pattern with this burner. Now, the one thing that is kind of interesting is that this burner burns with a very yellow flame, even though I'm still using the yellow bottle heat. It's the same fuel I've used on everything else. It just burns with a more yellow flame out of this burner. So we just passed 200 degrees at 5 minutes. It's climbing pretty steadily. There's 209 at 526. 526, we've got a nice rolling boil with the 700. 526. Let's see what burnout is. Okay, the flame is slowly starting to die. It's still got a pretty good flame going, but we just dropped below 209, so I'm going to call that 1052. All right, guys. So the first one went pretty well. One of the things I forgot to mention is the weight of this stove. So I've got it refilled, ready to go, but this stove or burner without the cap is 10.9, with the cap is 17.3 grams. So a nice light stove option. All right, so let's go ahead and light this one. It is lit. I've got that reset. We're talking about 60-degree water right here. Set this pot right on. Hit start. Let's see what the 550 does with this Kojin lighting it up. Let's do it. Okay, we're passing 200 degrees at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So just a little bit slower than the 700, but it doesn't look like it's going to be much slower. It's 209 at 5:45. Got a nice rolling boil. 5:45. Okay, there's 10 minutes and 30 seconds. The flames are definitely getting quite a bit smaller. And I would expect it to be dropping in temperature. The flames are much, much smaller. Still a flame there, but not much. And I'm gonna go ahead and call that flame out right there at 10:58. 10:58 flame out. All right, so next up, we've got the Foster's pot. Now this is a much wider burning flame, so I don't know how well this is gonna work with this narrow domed bottom, but we're gonna find out here in a minute. Got it fueled up, another ounce in there. I've got 12 ounces of water in there, sitting right at 60 degrees, so let's get this thing started. That's lit. Pot is on. Timer is started. Let's see what it does. Okay, so there's 200 degrees at 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Continuing to climb. Now it is a little bit longer than either of the other two, but that's to be expected with that narrower, shallower base. There's 208. You can see that it's boiling, but we're looking for 209. There's 209 at 6:35. 6 minutes, 35 seconds. Okay, the flames are starting to die down. Still holding temperature. Right at 210 degrees, but the flame pattern is definitely getting smaller. It's a much, much smaller flame under there right now. And it's dying. I'm gonna call that flame out right there at 11:32. 11:32 flame out. All right, so tonight we were out here testing the Trail Designs Kojin. So this is a small alcohol stove. It's a burner. It's not a stove. It doesn't have an integrated pot stand. It doesn't have an integrated pot stand that's available like the Starlight does that you could put on there. But what it does have is this nice screw top lid where you can actually seal it. And the cool thing about that, let me show you this. Let me throw a little bit of fuel in here. So using a squirt top, you can just kind of put some fuel in there, no problem, and it works really well. So if we light this, you guys can see it's going right now, because this one does burn with a little bit of a yellow flame. What's cool about this one, when you're done with it, blow it out, and then once it's cool, you can put this on there. One of the things you can do is pull this gasket out and put the lid on right as you blow it out, and that's going to trap the air, the vapors, and keep the alcohol that's in there from evaporating out. And then once it's cooled down, put the gasket back in, seal it up, and now you can take it with you. I took this out on my last trip, and it was great because I could light the stove, get my water to whatever temperature I needed it for, either boiling for a meal or just hot enough for coffee, blow it out, put the lid on, and now it's good to go for the next time. When I'm ready to go again, just open it up, light it, and because it still has fuel in it, it will go again. So that's a cool feature that some of these stoves really do offer you. So why don't we take a look at the leaderboard? All right, the leaderboard is really beginning to shape up. Now, there's one thing that I wanted to point out that is a change from the last time you saw the leaderboard. So one of the things you guys don't see is a lot of times I will do repeat tests and try things out if things didn't make a lot of sense. And when I tested the Venom stove, one of the things that didn't make sense was that the 550 had outperformed the 700 when it was a wider burn pattern. So I retested the 700 twice and came out with 6 minutes and 27 seconds. When I was with the 550, it was 7 minutes and 10 seconds. So 7:10 down to 6:27. So that is the new time for the fastest boil on the Venom. All right, so for this test, this was the Kojin stove. It comes in 4th best on the fastest boil with 5 minutes and 26 seconds using the 700 pot. For burn time, it was 11 minutes and 32 seconds, putting it down in the bottom half, but right in the middle. And then for the fuel usage, again, it's right above the toke siphon, just like it was in the burn time, with 0.48 ounces. All right, so if I'm being honest, the Kojin in this test here actually surprised me a little bit. I did not expect it to do quite as well as it did as just a burner with a pot stand. Now, these stoves are really designed for a caldera cone system. And in the caldera cone system, you can subtract a good minute on the boil times using this. But to keep everything equal and keep the leaderboard the same, I had to use it using a pot support that gave it about that 1-inch gap between the burner and the bottom of the pot, and that's what we did. And so really good times with it. The 700 at 5 minutes and 26 seconds was the fastest. 5 minutes in like 45 or 48, something like that. And then 6:45 or whatever with the Foster's pot. So again, this is a wider stove or burner. And so the flame pattern's big. It isn't one where the flame pattern is just on the outside. It's a wide flame pattern. So it worked really well. So let's check out what we're going to be looking at next week. Wow. Very similar. So this is from Storm & Stove Systems out of the UK. Another very similar design. Screw top, no spill, with a batting in there. Comes in about a gram lighter at 16 grams. It's a little bit shorter than the Kojin, but very similar. So let's see what it does next week. All right, guys, I appreciate you checking this out. If you have any comments, any questions, make sure you leave them down below. If you guys like what I'm doing here, please give me a big thumbs up. Go down below, click that subscribe button. Right next to it, there's a little bell symbol. Make sure you click that and you'll get notifications every time I release a new video. Thanks for coming out, guys. I'll see you down the trail.